Hello, welcome back to Things to Know as a Christian in College podcast. Today I have my sister Zazzlyn with me during the podcast, and it's the beginning of season 2, so welcome back everybody, and we are going to be talking about some tips and habits for doing good in college. So, what would you say is the biggest tip you would give people to do good in college?
Well, I don't know if there's one biggest tip.
Okay.
But I would say just get the stuff done.
I absolutely agree.
Just get the homework done. Even if it's easy or hard, just try to get it done quickly and not right on time.
Yeah.
But ahead of time.
That's really good. I know that a long time ago we were talking, and we were like, the first step is just to show up to class.
Yeah.
I feel like that is categorized in the just get it done, like just show up. And then, like, most of your work is done from there. Well, for most classes.
Especially if you take notes.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you can show up and just be so much information.
Yeah. I think that's really good advice. And one thing that I had to say really was that just to get the work done and put in the work, because once you start actually like putting in the work, then other things just kind of start to fall in place. Because, you know, like people might be like, oh, I just want something. They want an outcome, but they don't want to do anything. If you don't do anything, you know, faith without works.
Yeah.
Dead.
And the thing is, though, the time will pass without you doing it.
I know people say that for like years, like if you go to college, the time will pass or not. But like for assignments specifically, I feel like it's even more true.
Yeah, it'll be done. And that's like the good thing too, because you have a time to do it. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, okay, this is the deadline. So regardless of if, you know, you did good on it or not, it's time to turn it in.
Yeah.
And then it's over. So.
Mm-hmm. A scripture that I wanted to mention on working is Proverbs 14:23. It says something along the lines of, all work leads to profit, but mere talk only to poverty. So just know that any work that you are doing will lead to profit in some way. So that's one thing that I think is really good to keep in mind when you're doing a lot of work, even when you can't see results right then.
Yeah. Also, there's another scripture in Proverbs. It's Proverbs 18:9. It says, he who is slothful in his work is brother to a great destroyer. So, nobody wants to be the brother to the great destroyer, especially when just being, you know, a little slothful and doing your homework. So, it is important to make sure, like, you're getting your stuff done, and not only just getting it done for the sake of getting it done, but doing it well and doing it in a timely manner.
I think something that I would advise for doing good in college is to get sleep and prepare for the day. I know, like, not like over prepare for the day where you don't do the stuff that you need to do that day. Like, don't worry about tomorrow, for each day has enough troubles of its own. So like keep that in mind, but also still being prepared for the next day, I think helps a lot.
Yeah, some ways to be prepared for the next day, like packing your book bag with the books that you will be taking the next day.
And notebooks.
Yeah. And then just even stuff like knowing what you're going to eat in the morning. Mm-hmm. And maybe having that already prepared. And then, I mean, picking out your clothes, having those ready. So you can just make it really easy to get out the door, especially if there's morning classes.
Yeah, or if, like, you wake up late.
Yeah.
I think that's really, really good One thing that I'll just say here from experience is make sure you look at your notebooks, especially if they're the same color. Yeah. Open your notebook and make sure it's the class. Or you might have, like, catch-all notebooks, you know? Yep. You're looking for your notes. It's in your geography book, but it's supposed to be English, you know?
Yeah. I would just, in my notebook, write the subject right on the front page of the notebook to just make sure I know which one it is.
Yeah. I end up color coding my classes because I got my notebooks mixed up too much.
Yeah.
I was done with that. Okay. And then another thing that I wanted to talk about, another tip, is to get an understanding while you're in your classes. The Bible talks about getting an understanding a lot, like it says, in all you're getting, get an understanding. That's in Proverbs somewhere. Proverbs 4:7. Also in Proverbs, it talks about how you should choose understanding and wisdom over, like, silver and gold. I think that's a really, really important thing to think about, especially, well, I think all throughout college, because in one sense, I feel like when you're first starting college, it's kind of just like, ooh, what's happening? Yeah. But it's like, hey, wait, pay attention in your class. But then also, once you're in the college so long, it's like, okay, I know what's happening. It's like, I know how to pass this class. I don't really need to pay attention. But it is important to still get an understanding.
Yeah. Even in the classes where the stuff seemed like you might never ever use it.
Yeah.
It's still important to try to understand what's going on, get the work done, not just to forget it all, and then see how whatever you used in that class you can use somewhere else. Mm-hmm. Because mostly every single class has skills that can be used outside of just that class. Sometimes it can be the information that maybe seem like it would never be used, or just the things that were done, like speeches and presentations, writing papers, group work and stuff like that, that can be used in life in general. So there's always something to learn and to take away from all the classes.
Yeah, that's really good. Going back to getting your homework done on time, that's I feel like a really, really, really big one for doing good in college. Because, like, once if you're, trying to do your homework and it's, like, really late in the game and your homework's due in, like, 10 minutes, I can almost guarantee you it won't be the same quality as if you would have actually spent your time to write or most of the time it's writing assignments, I feel like. Or, like, do your math. I know that a lot of people have been stuck in the math. The math is a really bad one to be, got 10 minutes for, like, 20 questions of algebra or something. That's a tough one.
Yeah, I think it's really good to try to have, like, assignments done at least, like, the day before they're due. So, especially if assignments, let's say, are due on Sunday, and you don't want to do homework on Sunday, maybe you have to go to church, and all these other things, and you don't want to do your homework then, having that assignment due on Saturday would be really good, because you could turn it on a Saturday, or if it was just another day, like Monday to Tuesday, you could either turn your homework in on Monday, or you can wait till Tuesday to look it over and make sure you got it right, instead of making sure you got it done.
Yeah. I think that's really good. And then another thing I would suggest why you should have your homework done early is because a lot of teachers will allow you to take the assignment to them and let them look it over before they actually give you a grade, which is a huge advantage because, and then you can, number one, learn more, and then also learn more of how they actually want you to do the assignment, because sometimes you might do an assignment, you wrap it all up with a nice bow, and you'd be like, this is perfect, and then you take it to the teacher, and they say, this is nothing that I asked for.
Right.
And then you can a lot of the times catch that before actually receiving a grade,
Right.
Versus on the backside, and it might have been good, but it's just not what they're looking for.
Right. Then you might be able to ask to redo it if they can see that you didn't understand what the assignment was. But that's not, it's not necessarily guaranteed that they'll say yes. So, if there's opportunities for the teacher to look over things, it is good to use that. Also, sometimes teachers will not tell you that they'll do that. So, just asking and being prepared if they say yes is really good.
Yeah. I think that's a good, another good tip is to just ask. If you don't know something, ask. Like, Daddy always said, like, you're going to college to learn. You shouldn't already know the stuff. So there's no shame in asking. You're literally there to ask and to learn and to get your questions answered. Not necessarily like your life's biggest questions. What's my purpose? But like, how do you do this assignment? What's the meaning of this word?
Right. Or like certain things, like how do you do a footnote?
Yeah.
Or how do you double space if you don't know?
Yeah.
Or just really simple stuff like that. Or just making sure you understand, like, just making sure you understand exactly what's going on. If you have any questions, and make sure they're cleared up, because those unanswered questions can show up in your grade if you really didn't understand it and you're trying to guess.
That's true. And then another thing, like, I know I would be in classes a lot and they'd be like, this is this, this is this, this is this, and they would say it like so many times, but I just wouldn't know. Like, I could repeat it if it was on a test and say, what is this? I could say, it's this, yay, because I remember you said that, but I have no clue what any of that means. So just clarifying, even if they say it over and over and over and over, and just saying, okay, I don't really understand this the way that you're, like, telling me. And then a lot of the times they can rephrase it in a way that is like, oh, wait, everything makes sense now.
Yeah. I think, too, also, if you're just not getting exactly what the teacher's saying, just doing some studying in general, like if they're trying to go over and over it and you're still not understanding it, just looking at the stuff yourself or maybe with somebody else, I don't know, and just studying and really trying to understand it and make sure you can understand it. That's really helpful, because if somebody can't explain it, but it can be explained, sometimes you have to figure out how it makes sense yourself. But it's really important to do that so you can still understand it. Even if somebody can't tell you, you can go and study it so you can learn it.
I think that's really good. And then I would also, just saying like the same thing you just said, just look at it from somebody else if you can. Like, if there's like one person you're just not understanding it from them, if you know somebody who's already taken the class, you can totally talk to them about it. And then, or you can like look it up on YouTube. I know that sounds like what, but there's a lot of good educational videos. Get the credible sources, not like the weird ones. There's a lot of credible sources on YouTube, especially with like biology and sciences and math. I guess probably English too. I just never needed to look at that much. But like if you're like trying to memorize energy production in the body for glycolysis, and like the teacher just keeps saying it over and over, it's like, what? And then it's like you can look at it in multiple different ways. You can look at it in your textbook, listen to your teacher, look at your notes, and like watch a video. And once you look at one thing from lots of different angles, you start to get like a better picture of what it's actually supposed to be. Yeah. And then also on the subject of asking people who have taken the class before and things like that, one thing is to seek wise counsel. That's what I would say, because the Bible mentions seeking wise counsel a lot, especially in Proverbs. And like just going to people who have already been where you've been, if that's just like in that specific class, if that's somebody who's just like been in college or or even like if the people haven't been in college. A lot of people who haven't been in college have good advice for people who are in college who they've just been like living.
Yeah, I think on that same note, it's really good to, like, if you have assignments that somebody can look over, you can ask somebody to look over it. Like if you're writing a paper, you can ask somebody to read it for grammar or just, overall comprehension and stuff like that. And yeah.
Yeah, or like if you have like speeches or presentations, especially when they're supposed to be timed. This is another big tip I have for specifically presentations. Practice your presentation. I know I was in speech class and our teacher was always like, practice your speech before, and I would only practice it once before I went in the morning, which isn't that good. It was my first semester, okay. I wouldn't do that now. But just practicing your presentation, and I would suggest practicing your presentation like 5 to 10 times before you actually go and do it, especially if you're going to be graded on time.
Yeah, and then just set the timer and do the presentation. Even if nobody's there to watch it, but it's good to have somebody watch it too so they can give some feedback and, so you can make changes if they need to be made before the actual presentation.
Yeah, and then a lot of the times, if you practice in front of somebody else, they catch a lot of error in your slides, because there can be so many typos in the slides, it's ridiculous. So that's a really nice advantage of that too.
And then too, like, people can tell you, like, if you're like rushing through the presentation, and sometimes that'd be why people don't make it to the time they're supposed to go to. It's kind of like slow down and people can get feedback. So it is good to, show people the things that you're working on so you can get a little bit of feedback, because not only the teachers can tell you how to get a better grade, some people, around you that might be able to help out, they can, help you out before you turn in to try to make sure you're doing the stuff correctly and making sure it's understandable for everybody.
That's some really, really good stuff. And the biggest thing that I would say is to keep God first and to do your education for Him. Some scriptures that I wanted to mention on this is Matthew 6:33, probably like the whole theme of this podcast. I feel like we say this one every single podcast, but seek ye first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. Since it says all these things, I believe that also includes good grades. So the good grades are in there too. And then also Proverbs 16:3, commit thy works unto the Lord, and thy thoughts shall be established. So if you're trying to get something done, you have some thoughts for getting good grades, for doing well, to commit your works to the Lord, and He'll get that done for you. But like we said before, faith without works is dead, so get to work. Put in the work. Yeah, that's pretty much, I think, all I have to say on that.
Yeah, I have to say, so about those scriptures, it's important to keep God first, and also to just know, like, when you're going through college, regardless of what degree you're getting, just knowing that you're going to use whatever you learned for God, not only just to, try to get the greatest job and make the most money, but, using those skills and those talents for God is the purpose of even learning more.
Yeah.
I think another good tip, and I think it's already been talked about on this podcast, is just speaking positive, especially especially all the times, but especially when, I don't know, like teachers might be a certain way or assignments might be piling up. It's always good to speak positive. Like we said earlier, the time is going to pass with or without anybody doing their homework. And, so the best thing you can do when it is time to get the assignment turned in is to just do it. And it makes sense to be like, I can do this, I can get this done, instead of already combating a little bit of time with negative words. Yeah. So it's really important to just know, even, you know, if you run into a situation where you have to do more than, you know, what you'd like to do or usually do in getting things done, you know, it's definitely possible. A lot of people are doing it, and it's important to just stay positive about it because it can always be done. I mean, if something can't be done, then you just do as much as you can.
Yeah.
So something can always be done. Maybe it's not exactly how you wanted it to be done, but trying to just get it done in general, you know, as well as you can in the time that you have would be the best thing to do instead of just forgetting about it. I say too, if you have any test that's time, be mindful of the time, even if it's an in-person test.
True.
Even if there's no clock around, because some classrooms don't have a clock for whatever reason, so it's good to have a watch too. But just be mindful of the time and try to answer everything.
Yeah.
Because even in, you know, sometimes guessing, you know, there's a possibility that that's correct. It's also a possibility that's not, but it doesn't really matter because you at least tried to get a score for that, which otherwise would have no score.
0.
So
yeah, I think that's really good. Yeah, never leave any questions blank on the test if you can help it. Like, if you run out of time, I'm sorry, but if you don't run out of time, I feel like that goes along with the positive speaking, even though it might just be like positive thinking because you're probably not talking out loud at that point. But really just staying committed and finishing what you started and not just be like, this is too hard for me, I'm just gonna skip over so many questions and hope everything that I filled in is exactly right, because it's probably not, and then it's a bad situation.
I mean, it's a possibility that it is.
It is a possibility.
Even in the case of skipping over questions, because sometimes, you know, you can't, like, come back to things. It's like, come back in enough time to try to answer all of those questions that you weren't sure about. Yeah.
I mean, there were a lot of things that I put on tests that I thought I was, like, super wrong on. Like, probably, like, laughable answers. And I got points for it. Teachers are nice sometimes, so, you know, you might get points for it, partial credit. That's good, too.
Another tip when going to college that, I mean, I think about this, I don't know if everybody thinks about this, is trying to not have your book bag really, really heavy all the time. Because there's, like, I mean, there's textbooks. Some can be, like, this thick. Some can be really small. But especially if you're taking, like, chemistries and stuff, they have thicker books, generally. So making sure, you know, you're not just carrying too much, like, every day. It's one thing to, you know, have to take a few things one day, and your book bag's really heavy, but every day is a lot. And I think it's better, you know, for your back and stuff to, you know, carry what you need. Sometimes maybe you can get a little extra, but mainly just carrying what you need and not just having way too much, because that can make your back hurt.
Yeah. I just thought of 2 more tips from that. So I think it's really good to try to buy your textbooks versus renting them. A lot of the times, I know it's like a price difference, but a lot of times you can find a used textbook for the same price for renting a textbook. And I definitely recommend that, because you can, like, write it and stuff if you want to, or if you don't want to, you know, you can just keep it for references for the future, especially if you're taking a series of courses. It's really nice to have, like, the beginner textbook to look back to, and then your more advanced textbook, and so on. I have so many textbooks. I have a bookshelf full and a little bookshelf full.
And I use the book that I got in my first semester of college. I'd be going back to it and looking through it to refresh. So it was really helpful to actually have it instead of, like, you know, like, what was that one thing, and trying to go online and find it.
Yeah, I definitely recommend paper books over ebooks all day. The other camera just died, so we're gonna wrap this up real quick. I would say get to class on time. That's the last tip I have to say. So we hope that y'all learned something. And we'll see you in the next one. You got anything else to say?
Okay, I have one last tip too. Try to sit in the front of the class.
Yep.
Because it's easiest to pay attention there and hear the teacher and see exactly what they're writing and have on screens or boards or whatever. Yep. So, yeah. That's all.
That's good. Okay, we will see y'all, or I will. I don't know. You'll be here. I'll see y'all in the next one, and yeah. Bye.
Bye.